I attended your 9 a.m. service, and it was so good. First of all, I didn't have to do it, so that was the best part. And I got to listen, which was really good. But it's very interesting because it was a song, and it had a phrase in it that really struck me and said, "This broken road prepares your will for me." Well, that's actually Vida Eterna. And it begins with me. As I said, I am the eldest, Pastor Alice said, I'm the eldest of 5 children. The oldest is an issue. Being the oldest, if any of you are the oldest, you get blamed for everything. It's your fault. You take care. You really, having a childhood is a little like you have to strategize if you want a childhood. But in Latino culture, the oldest one is the one who receives all the tradition, the one who it is assumed will carry on and teach their siblings. So it's a very important role. At the age of 6, I was actually taking care of my family's household. So it's a very interesting situation. It's a different way of life. And therefore, that's why we have Vida Eterna. If you look in your booklet, and once again, the reason why I'm pulling out the name is because a lot of people thought that Vail was the name of the church. Vail is not the name of the church. It's the acronym, because how many of you can say Vida Eterna Iglesia Luterana 10 times without stumbling? All right. So even I have problems with that. So we say Vail to make it easier. So on the first page of the little booklet I gave you, it basically gives you the mission of the congregation. It started off as a outreach. In fact, it was called the Latino Outreach Ministry of the Southern Ohio Synod, because they weren't sure how it would work. They did a demographic that in Butler County, there were 20,000 documented Latinos of many different cultures who had no resources, had no places to worship, because everything was in English, and their first language is not English. So the EOCA church-wide partnered with the Southern Ohio Synod and said, well, we need to put someone there, we need to have a pastor. They had no pastors that spoke Spanish. And I, in my deaconess studies, as I was approaching my consecration as a deaconess, was approached by the synod office several times to see if we could begin, we could begin a ministry, a Latino ministry of worship and service. Word and sacrament, word and service. Unfortunately, in the beginning of that, which started around 2008, very few churches, well, to be honest, most churches did not want Latinos in their congregation. And we're speaking ELCA churches. We're not speaking like a different faith body. Which it was a struggle, and for me, it was disappointing, but it was my experience. My parents met in New York. My mother lived in the barrio. My father joined the army for the Korean War in Puerto Rico. He was trained at Fort Dix in New Jersey, and he would visit family. He had cousins in the barrio in New York. Barrio means like a village almost. And in the barrio, everybody speaks Spanish, so you don't have to know English. Like in the beginnings of when Ellis Island and all those little communities that started in New York, exactly like that. And he met my mom, and then he went off to the war, and when they got back, they got married, and he had a GI Bill, and he moved the family to New Jersey. The timing of that was not good. It was in the midst of the civil rights movement. We moved to an all Anglo, I don't like using colors, so I say Anglo, community. And let's see, our house was graffiti. Our dogs were poisoned and they died. Bricks were thrown through our windows. We were shot, the children, we couldn't go outside and play like regular kids because we were shot with BB guns. And lots of other things. My parents are, well, they're not with us anymore, they're with God, but they were Catholic, and so they, for our safety, they put their children in the Catholic school, which had issues. First thing is they had no such thing as ESL, which is English as a second language. So they threw me into school, and I knew not one word. So I have many experiences of what it means to be, even though I was born here in the United States, what it means to be an immigrant, first generation. It's very difficult, and it could take you, if you don't watch your way, it could take you to, if you don't watch your way, meaning if you don't have God in your heart or in your mind or faith, like a mustard seed, you can take the wrong path very easily. So luckily my faith, and I don't know why, so don't ask me how I had that faith, I was very devout, and I followed the right path, but I was very obedient. I had to follow the culture. So my father was an alcoholic, so I have that experience being the child of an alcoholic father. My mother was codependent, so I have all these personal experiences that are tremendous and very common experiences, and I don't want to use that word common like, you know, it doesn't matter. Common means it's typical of the culture when they first come here. So I guess God, my broken road, he needed me to heal from that broken road, and he placed me in the Lutheran church. Because when I was a teenager after confirmation, I felt the call, and I was denied the call because I'm a woman. In the Catholic Church, they don't recognize women. And when I asked a nun about it, one of my teachers, who was a nun, she said, "Oh no, you're not worthy to serve God."
Oh, my.
So when you're telling someone so young, something like that, and in your head as a child, you have, here's the nun, here's the priest, there's the Pope, and then there's God. So the nun must have it in, she must know, God must be telling her, and you think it's true, and I did. So for many years I was lost, until I ended up at Teal College, which is a Lutheran church. I don't think at the time it was ELCA, because it was in the early 80s, and ELCA didn't come out until 1985. But that's where I found my faith again. And God needed me to do that. He put me on the road. He healed that road to, I believe, begin the ministry of Vida Eterna. I didn't even know, you know how you go astray? Because there was another thing that says, it's so like you to keep pursuing and so like me to go astray. And I think many of you know that experience. And so finally, I listened and I became a deaconess, but before I was even commissioned or consecrated, the bishop called me and said, "We have a job for you." And so that's how this began. Now, with most ministries, and I'm trying to make this really fast because I know we don't have a lot of time. With most ministries, there's already a group of people that say to the bishop or to the faith body that we want to start a congregation, and there's already a founding group of individuals. There was no founding group of individuals. I actually had to go to people's doors. That's why it started off as an outreach. And we started with English as a second language because many of them do not speak English and feel that they can't learn. There's a difference. It's not that they don't want to learn, they don't feel they can learn. Most of them don't have an education higher than 8th grade. So there's that struggle. So I knocked on doors and called people, met with them, and it was just like in the beginning of the apostles, I went to them. And that's what ethnic-specific ministry is. If you look in the book that I gave you, the very first page after the cover is this page here. And it talks about the purpose of ethnic-specific ministry. So it's about, and people mean well, but when you have visitors, I'm sure you've had conversations about when a visitor comes, what you should do and all that. But a lot of times it's about them worshiping the way you worship. Well, that's not the way they worship. That's not the way they understand how to embrace God. So this is about saying, okay, how do you worship? And that's how it started. And if you see on the very bottom, it's not just Latino culture. In fact, Latino culture is kind of on the bottom. African descent, African American, American Indian, Arab, Asian, European, Latino. Very interesting. I went to an Arab Lutheran church. Very different, very different. So that's what it's about, meeting the people where they're at. On the next page, you'll see specific information about Latino, the Association of ELCA Latino Ministries. When I first started, there were only 145 Latino congregations in the ELCA in this area, the United States and the Caribbean, and now we're up to 175. And also there is a Latino association that came out of that, so that's on the bottom. Read that. We're not going to go through that, just I have it there for you so that you know what the church is doing. The next page, which is a page I give to all my service learning students, and you'll see that in the video I'm getting ready, not video, but in the PowerPoint I'm getting ready to show you. I provide a means for high schoolers and college students, specifically Miami University and Xavier University, to do service learning with me. And so this is something I give them about what it means to be an ally. Because everybody says, oh yeah, I'm with you, I'm all for you, but once again, there seems to be a lot of condition. I'll be your ally if, and that's not ministry. Because then again, you're telling them to meet God on your terms, not to meet God on their terms. So that is another thing. Please read that at your leisure. Then you have that's our logo. And then if we look at the next page, and I hope it works. This is our mission statement, but it's based on Matthew 10. Anyone who welcomes you welcomes me. Anyone, go back. Oh, wait. No, I don't know how to do that.
It's the back.
Oh, there I see the little back. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm not tech savvy. So anyone who welcomes you welcomes me. And anyone who welcomes me welcomes the one who sent me. I don't think there's anything more powerful than that. My youth, 14, 15, and 16-year-olds wrote that. Because the concept of mission statements, vision statements, is not something that many of the families were accustomed to. So I had youth in a special program working with me during the summer called the Horizon Program, which is funded by the ELCA, and they created a mission statement. And the footprints in the sand is not about the footprints in that poem, Footprints in the Sand. The footprints in the sand is to represent all those who crossed the frontera, who crossed the desert to get into the United States, and the ones who didn't make it and died right there in the desert. I just wanted to show that we're just like anyone else. We have worship on regular holidays. If you can see, it was a small group. It got bigger and bigger. And that was Christmas last year. Now you see how much bigger we are. We have our masks and everything. You have those pictures in your booklet. So if you can't, if you want to see them, we have baptisms. We have First Communions, confirmations. This one here is from this spring. I have another group being confirmed on Reformation Sunday. Then we have baptism with First Communion. Some families, this family is from Peru, and they found me. So their children had never been baptized and had never received First Communion, and you could tell they're teenagers. So we were able to make that happen. This year we had a spring First Communion, we had a fall First Communion, we had a baptism in August. I have another baptism on October 29th, and just one of the fun things we do is we make the communion bread. That's part of the class. This is something that most churches don't do, is quinceañeras. Now, quinceañeras, it's very important to understand that. This is a young teen, 15 typically years old, who has come traditionally, this is when you reach your womanhood. Now, in the old days, old days, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, a quinceañera was when they came out at 15, it was the day of their engagement, or a betrothal, the day that she met her betrothed, or it was her wedding day. Wow. Mm-hmm. We're talking a long time ago. They don't do that anymore. We don't marry off our 15-year-olds. But the tradition has stayed, but thank God that part, marrying you off, is not part of that anymore. And believe it or not, all the countries celebrate it a different way. So this young lady, her family are Cuban refugees. They have a very small party, and then they go back to their country, and it's a whole day of visiting the country, taking photos. They take albums, almost like a photo shoot with her in it. She's the centerpiece, and that's how they celebrate. But in the Mexican culture, which is this one, and this one, it's like a wedding. It's so much like a wedding. It gets a little complicated. And believe it or not, it's just not one gown. There's several gowns because during the reception, they dance special dances. So there's costumes and there's different gowns to go with those folk dances. These are the most recent. This one was in February of this year, and this one was in May. These are all Mexican families. All different parts of Mexico even do it differently. Some of our programs, we have a summer science camp, and there are people here that know that, are familiar with that, and you might see some familiar faces. I think this one, everybody knows this one, even though it's behind the mask. We have Jen Jarman too, Christine Jarman, who has been, we have Monies, Prince of Peace, gave us monies to hire an actual teacher. And the whole point of this is to teach STEM curriculum during the summer, which many Latinos and African Americans, Black children and Latino children are way behind on that. So we try to give them a little up on that. This was this year's, just the different things we do with them, teaching them all stuff from the STEM curriculum. This is my youth. This group right here are now in college students or have graduated from college, and this is just their representation at Synod Assembly. Bishop Dillahunt invited them. This is Synod Assembly via online because of COVID. This was the Horizon program, and if you want to know more about the Horizon program, I'll let you know, but it's a little long. I don't want to explain it, take too much time. And we have, here's the service learning. So we have Miami University students who I signed a contract with Miami University to be, it's almost like an adjunct professor, where I host the site where they help tutor or help with anything. And they complete 20 service hours, and then I have to evaluate that and hand in their grade for that. They also teach ESL on the bottom right below here. This was this past spring. Teaching, we had six Venezuelan gentlemen who came to the United States, are here seeking asylum. The ICE knows that they're here. And they have 1 year to prove their asylum, that they do need asylum. And then it was, so 6 men from Venezuela and 2 men from Cuba, all seeking asylum. And so they teach that person right here, this is a Miami University student right there. Then we have adults who help as well. Good Shepherd and Prince of Peace. I can't remember everybody there. But then we have high schoolers. So these are high schoolers. So they learn a lot as well, the high schoolers. And then they don't know, this is the last group that went to the ELCA youth gathering. This program for teen youth began in 2013 when Miami University called me, and it was the chairman of the graduate department of psychology who wanted to give one of her students an internship for the summer for her graduate study. And so they said, would I like that? And I said, oh yes, especially since I don't have to pay her. We don't have a lot of funding. And so she established a test. And in the beginning, it was just 4 girls. And she gave them the test, and the test basically was one question. Where do you see yourself after high school? They saw themselves as janitors, as waitresses in a restaurant, as mothers, not necessarily married, as factory workers. Even though they were in high school in the United States, where supposedly all these opportunities are available to them, they did not see college as an option. All these students, except for one who has a learning disability, all these students are honor students, but they didn't see college as an option. So part of our youth program, which would be different for you, is we do college visits. We talk about what it takes, scholarships, grants, when these things have to come out. My husband, who's been working with me since 2013 on this, he shows them how to complete the FAFSA. If any of you are parents and have had to do the FAFSA, you know how crazy that thing is. Try teaching that. Their parents can't do it. It has to be them because they can't. So my husband teaches it with them. He does it for them. And they sit by his side and they do it together the first year. The second year, he's at their side. They do it. The third year, they go ahead and do it by themselves. And then he rescues them from their mistakes. And the senior year, they got it. So there's a lot. This is them at their first ELCA youth gathering in 2015, which we were lucky to have funding from Lord of Life to do that, and from Zion and Hamilton, who paid for the vehicle for the van to get us to Detroit. And these are the 4 girls. It was just 4 girls. And this is the Puerto Rican. Some of the Puerto Rican congregations, when I say Puerto Rican, they're actually located in Puerto Rico. And so they got together, Mexicans and Puerto Ricans and Cubans. It was really cool. And believe it or not, some of the language is different, traditions are different, culture is different. But we give back. We receive a lot, we give back. We do a lot of stuff for God's work, our hands. We helped Lord of Life with the rummage sale, which was yesterday. This was last year's. This was yesterday. Well, no, this was the Pride event, and they're involved in Pride, and we went on an ASP. That is telling me that I better hurry up because I don't know when we end, but that was my timer for that.
7 till.
7 till. Oh, okay, I have just a little bit of time. Okay, so ASP is the Appalachian Service Project, and this was the 3rd or 4th year my youth attended that. And of course you see them, we help repair houses. So here's the exhaustion right there. And then for the Pride Parade, here are my young adults with some senior and junior high. We made t-shirts for the event. One of the moms, this mom's from Peru. They made little favors that we handed out with Spanish messages on them. This was God's Work Our Hands with Prince of Peace. We were at a laundromat giving out quarters and laundry detergent. And then this was yesterday, the rummage sale at Lord of Life. So we help we try to give back as much as we can. Now, we did this, one of the moms suggested we do this. This was explaining to the congregation at Lord of Life, we did this between the services, that the way El Día de los Muertos, or we say Los Fieles Difuntos, is not about worshiping the devil or anything like that, because you see the skulls, and they're sugar skulls. Some of this is beautiful artistry. You can eat those, believe it or not. But it's about remembering those who passed away, not about worshiping anything. It's remembering mom and dad and abuela, abuelita, grandma, grandpa. And down here with this cross, if you could see in the picture, I don't know if you can see better, this is to remember all the pets. So your kittens, one was a cat, one was a dog. Some kids brought in little cows and pigs because they're used to having chickens and cows and pigs. But it's about remembering them, and the reason why the skull is there is because in hundreds of years ago, the only kind of artistry, I mean, we have clip art now, we have all these things we can get from, but all they had was when they think of death, they think of a skeleton. So then that's what they used. So it's nothing about anything evil or voodoo or anything like that. And so the kids are there explaining everything to the people that are coming to look at it, to learn. And then we have, I offer also English classes and citizenship classes. We started in 2015 with the citizenship class. If you are a refugee, after being in the United States for 5 years, you are eligible to take the citizenship exam. The citizenship exam is only given in English. If you don't know English, you're going to fail that exam. So I teach it so that they can understand, and it's very difficult for them, but since 2015, we have 11 new American citizens.
Hey.
Yes, and so we're hoping for our people that are trying to receive asylum. Doña Marta, she's the matriarch of our congregation. She's one of the founders. She's 70-something years old right now. She took the exam at the age of 63. She failed it the first time.
Oh.
If you fail it, you have to pay again to take it. I don't know if you all realize, it costs $785 to take the citizenship exam.
Oh.
It's not free. So a lot of people say, oh, they get everything free, they get everything free. I don't know where they're getting that information from. That's not true. Not only that, if they're refugees, so for example, Doña Marta is there. Her 2 granddaughters are right there in this upper picture. And her daughter is in this picture here. There they are again. Her daughter, her and her son-in-law, they're all from Cuba. They're Cuban refugees, came here in 2009. They were, they put in their application to be, I say, saved from Castro. Her husband was a political prisoner in Cuba. He was sentenced to 30 years in prison, but because of the human rights things and stuff, they lowered it to 10 years, but it was 10 years of torture and no food and stuff. He has PTSD from that. Even he now is an American citizen. But they all came, and so they came through Catholic Charities. They were partnered with Catholic Charities. They don't get to pick. They just get partnered. And it's a loan. So all your lawyer bills, all the things that it takes, the doctor, the medical examinations, all that is a loan. It goes up to $10,000 depending on where you're from. Just a few years ago, I think it was about 3 years ago, Charlie, or something, we had a party celebrating that they finished paying their loan. Now that sounds cruel, but it's not, because that money goes to help another family come, to save another family. But it's not free. It is that even if you're a refugee, you're not free. So yes, you're given a social security card, you're given temporary residency until you become a citizen, so you're given a green card. And it seems easy, oh, they get all this help, you know, it's all free. It's not. It's not. Nothing is free. There's no such thing as a free lunch, they say. So that's part of that. It's a tremendous, this young lady, this is Valeria, she's the secretary of our church now. She just became a citizen this past February. In fact, she became a citizen on my birthday, it looks like it was. So, and these 2 people he's from Cuba, he just became a citizen, and this is the mom that's from Peru. She just became a citizen. That was last year. We do Hands Against Hunger events. One angel paid for my family's 21 members of my congregation to take. None of them have ever heard of CPR or even first aid, and so they paid for 21 members to be trained in CPR and first aid. And then it goes on. Oh, we also do COVID clinics and flu. We did flu clinics. We don't do it anymore. We have other outreach for anyone. It doesn't matter. You don't have to be a Latino to receive our women's ministry where we hand out diapers and wipes and anything we can get our hands for babies. And so we have a lot of things. Three Kings, please come to our Three Kings party. It is a blast. We burn trees. If you're into burning, that fire over here, that's 17 Christmas trees. That's the fire dying out. But what it is, we're celebrating the arrival of the Three Kings to the stable. This is typically when we celebrate Christmas. We have the service on the holy part, the worship part is on Christmas Day, Christmas Eve. But the gifts are not until the Epiphany. So that's January 6th. Because the kings brought the gifts to to Jesus. The Three Kings brought the gifts to Jesus. I'm going really fast, so I'm going to try and give you time to ask me questions. So this, you have all of this in your flyer. You can make notes. I made sure there was little lines for you to make notes. So right now, we ask anyone to be our ally. And an ally can be support as financial support as well. Vida Eterna came to be with $20,000 from the ELCA church-wide and $20,000 from the Southern Ohio Synod and me. That's only $40,000 to run a whole ministry. I am only half-time. I am not a full-time pastor. But as Alice will tell you, there's no such thing. That's a joke. But anyway, that does not exist. I don't know. So it's a very interesting situation because the whole idea of mission development, which I am a mission developer, is that you begin the ministry and stuff, but after 2 years, they're supposed to pull those grants from you because you're supposed to be self-sustaining within 2 years. But they figured out it would be more 5 years for us. I kept telling them that's not going to happen. We have families here that they're getting minimum wage. Not only that, they hardly can pay for their rent and put food on the table. 85 at the beginning of Vida Eterna, 100% of my congregation lived under the poverty level. So if I got $1 in the offering plate, wow, I got excited. You would see pennies in my offering plate. You would see quarters in the offering plate. And I never put, you know how you all pass the plate? That was too humiliating for my families. I put the plate at the entrance door so if they have it. Because for me, I didn't want them to put money in there if it meant taking food away from one of their children. So in the beginning, we worked with nothing. It was 100%. Right now, it's about 85% of my congregation was under the poverty level. It is not a self-sustaining congregation. It can't be. And even though now we have students that are in college, we still have to wait for them to develop their careers and establish a profession before they can tithe on a regular basis, or people don't like that word, give on a regular basis. But right now, after, so let me go back. So typically it's 2 years, they extend it to 5 years in an emergency, but we are now 12 years into receiving aid from the ELCA and the Southern Ohio Synod. However, that money is coming down. So in the beginning where the church-wide gave us $20,000, right now we're at 10. And where the Synod gave us 20, we're at 10. So we have $20,000 to run a congregation for a whole year. And all of you know that that's not, that doesn't even cover my salary. And I'm half-time, and they only pay me half-time. They can't afford anything more than that. So that's where, mind you, the ELCA and the Southern Ohio Synod did great, but once again, those monies that they use for mission support are supposed to help build and create other congregations too. And it's not fair for them to keep giving to us over a period of 12 years. And the rule is typically 2 to 5. So, but they see the need, but it's not, it's getting kind of, we're in a bad place right now. So my families do the best they can, but even we don't have a musician. I sing, and I can guarantee you I don't sing well. I don't know how to read music, so it's really interesting how I lead worship with music, but we do. If you have a gift of music and can play the guitar or the piano or whatever, we are calling out for any kind of help to grow this ministry, because as you see, it started from nothing, but we have confirmands, we have baptisms, we are doing the work of God. And we are doing it unconditionally. Nowhere in the Bible does it say that Jesus asked for someone's papers before he healed them. Okay? He said to them, your faith has healed you. And that's all these people want. They want a place to, these families want, I shouldn't call them, they just want a place where they can worship God and be healed. That's all they want. And they want to share their faith with their children. So that is the most important thing to them. And they're learning, because many of them come from a Catholic background, but they're disenfranchised from the Catholic Church because either they're divorced, and it's a sin to be divorced in the Catholic Church, or they're living with a partner they're not married with. That's a sin. Mind you, in many of the Catholic congregations, if you're divorced or you're not legally married, your children cannot be baptized, nor can they receive Holy Communion. One mom just called me, and she'd been missing for about a year. I've been praying for her. She's been helping her mom with stage 4 breast cancer. So she kind of disappeared, and I've been trying. And so finally she called me. She says, Pastora, I'm ready. I need to baptize Betsy, and I need you to give First Holy Communion to Sophia and Alexandra. And I said, oh, I've been praying for you. I've been thinking about you. I'm so happy to hear that. She goes, well, I tried to go to the Catholic Church. So I was like, oh, okay. And she said, but you won't believe it, Pastora. I said, what? They wanted $200 per child to take the First Communion classes. And the First Communion classes are 2 years long. So that would have been $400. She lives in a trailer home. $400 is not anything she can. So to live her faith out, she has to be able to pay for it. I don't do that. I don't think typically in the Lutheran Church we do, but I don't do it. So and thank God she came back and she said to me, yes, I want my children baptized and give them First Holy Communion. So, I think I covered it. We also have a youth who's a young adult now who has just been commissioned on September 17th. She did her training and she's commissioned as a Stephen minister.
Oh.
So, and that took a lot on her part. So it's very interesting. And before I take any questions, well, maybe how many more minutes do I have?
5.
5? Okay. Any questions? And then we're going to go to this prayer.
I may have missed it, but where are you located?
Oh, it's not on the thing. No, you didn't miss it. It's Westchester. We don't have a building. That's not going to happen. Not in my lifetime, I don't see it happening. We don't have a building. Originally, we started in Fairfield at a church an ELCA church called Holy Cross. Holy Cross closed in 2013. And then Lord of Life adopted us. So they share the facility with us. We don't have a building. And so I have to follow their calendar. So my families would love Sunday morning services. Not possible. So it's evening services. And we're hoping that soon, maybe one day, we'll be able to have morning services. But right now we have evening services. And because of COVID, many of my families began working on Sunday. And for 2 years working on Sunday, now they can't get out of it. So it's been a little bit of a problem. So they voted to have services on Friday nights. So we have service on Friday night at 7 o'clock. But it's at Lord of Life Lutheran Church.
And
So
contact information if we do want to volunteer?
I have my business card. I came prepared with that. Let me see if I feel it. It's in one of my many plastic bags. Aha! So you can contact me. Coben knows. You can also talk to. Oh, sure. That has my email address and my phone number. Oh, please email me or text me. Please don't call me. I will not answer. Unless I already have you in my contacts, I get a lot of hate calls. And so I chose, I'm screening all my calls. So if I don't know the number, I will not answer. So it's not because I'm being snarky. It's just because I'd rather not listen to hate. So yeah, I'm kind of anti-hate. So. Any other questions?
With all that you have to deal with and everything like that, how do you keep going?
I don't know.
I'm exhausted just thinking about it.
Once again, it's kind of funny because I listened to that song, this broken road, and to be honest, I didn't know if I could do this work. I really didn't know if I could do it. I've been doing it for 12 years now. And it seems kind of ironic because I was just ordained, but I really do believe it's God.
I can attest to that. I look at her many times and like, how do you keep going? I think she's like the energizer bunny.
I have no musician. I am the entire staff. So I'm the pastoral associate, the music director, the youth director, the adult forum, you name it, I do it. So, and I'm tired. I do get tired, so I'm going on vacation in just a few days. So I do worry about what will happen after I retire, but I don't plan on retiring anytime soon. But
do you have any relationship with Reach Out with Her?
I do have a relationship with them, and they've helped me many times with several things.
My friend's on the board.
Ah, yes. I know the director there. I've sat and talked to him recently, the one that's new now. I mean, I think that was earlier this year I met with him, but yeah, he's a licensed social worker, so yeah, I met with him.
So what school districts do you encompass?
All of them.
It's Lakota and Princeton and
Hamilton.
Oh,
yeah, Hamilton. I get people from anywhere, everywhere. So I have a short prayer. It's the Lord's Prayer. But it's a different kind of way of saying the prayer. And I'm so sorry. If you have any questions, just please don't be afraid to contact me. But what it is, it's the Lord's Prayer, and it'll say page 1. So I will read the Spanish, and you all will read the English. Okay? Padre nuestro.
Our Father,
Father of all who have been tortured,
of all who are tormented, of those who hide in caves, in the hills, in the jungle, and cannot come back to their wives or their children, because of military repression and terror.
Padre nuestro.
Our Father, who lives in all who seek justice, because they love their brothers and sisters, and serve you, serving and struggling those who have no roof or food or clothes or medicine.
Tu nombre es santificado.
Your name is hallowed. In all those who defend their lives of the poor, above money, coffee, cotton, and sugar cane. In all those who work night and day to free their brothers and sisters from illiteracy, sickness, exploitation, and persecution.
Que venga tu reino.
Let your kingdom come. Your kingdom which is freedom and love, kinship and justice, life and rights, truth and non-lies.
Sí, Señor, que venga tu reino.
Yes, Lord, let your kingdom come. For your kingdom may set aside our egotism and seek for others what we want for ourselves, that people join forces and discover new paths of hope.
Que se haga tu voluntad.
Let your will be done, which means breaking the yokes that oppress humanity, which means comfort for those who grieve, freedom for prisoners, strength for the tortured, and liberation and life for those who suffer violence.
Danos hoy nuestro pan de cada día.
Give us this day our daily bread, the bread of living at home and walking the streets without being abducted, the bread of milk for all children, the bread of medical assistance for those in the countryside, the bread of land for the landless.
Y perdónanos, Señor,
And forgive us, Lord, for not knowing how to share the bread which you have given us,
así como nosotros perdonamos
as we forgive those who have taken from us your bread which is ours. Forgive us when out of fear we remain silent and do not say what you want us to say.
No nos dejes caer en tentación,
And lead us not into temptation, to fit into the patterns of this world, to think that nothing can be done well.
mas líbranos del malo,
But deliver us from evil, who lurks in the spies penetrating our communities and our churches, whose intention is to distort our words and defame our lives.
líbranos del malo.
Deliver us from evil, civilian or in uniform.
Y Señor, líbranos del malo,
And Lord, deliver us from evil, which from our very depths tempts us to live our life by keeping to ourselves, when you are inviting us to give it to our friends.
porque tuyo es el reino,
Yours is the kingdom, belonging to no usurper,
tuyo es el poder,
and yours is the power, belonging to no structure or organization,
y la gloria es tuya,
and yours is the glory,
porque tú eres el único Dios
for you are the only God,
y Padre por siempre.
and Father forever and ever.
Amén.
Amen.
Whew, did I do that fast?
Good. Thank you so much.
And please share. You can share your the bulletins and this thing with others.
There's more of the packet right here.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I hope that a number of us will be able to join and connect up. I want to talk to you about teaching how to teach music. That's a weird way to say it, but I have a thing.
Okay.
I have to run to go to the other service though.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody wants, if you have any other questions, you want to chat, I'm sure Carmen would be happy to chat with you. But if you need to run away, go run away. Thank you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.